Hello, and welcome back to Fun with Flags and History. Today, we will be continuing our exploration of the Sino-Soviet border clashes of 1968. In the first part of this video series, we examined the background of this conflict, including the ideological, economic, and territorial tensions between China and the Soviet Union. In this second part, we will delve into the battles that took place during the conflict, as well as the aftermath and consequences of the Sino-Soviet border conflict of 1968. Let's not waste any more time and dive right into this, shall we? The Sino-Soviet border clashes of 1968 were a series of skirmishes and battles that took place along the border between China and the Soviet Union. The conflict began in March 1969 when Chinese forces attacked Soviet border posts in the disputed areas of Damansky Island. The Soviet Union responded with a counterattack, and fighting continued for several days. The Chinese forces eventually withdrew, and the Soviet Union claimed victory in this battle. After the initial battle in Damansky Island, the conflict spread to other areas along the border. Both sides deployed large numbers of troops, tanks, and artillery to the region, and there were several more clashes and skirmishes throughout the spring and summer of 1969. The battles were often intense and brutal, with both sides suffering significant casualties. However, neither side was able to gain a clear advantage, and the conflict eventually came to a halt in August 1969, when both sides agreed to a ceasefire. The Sino-Soviet border clashes of 1968 had significant consequences for both China and the Soviet Union. The conflict marked a major turning point in the relationship between the two communist superpowers, and it led to a complete breakdown in their diplomatic and economic ties. China denounced the Soviet Union as a revisionist and imperialist power, and accused the Soviet leadership of betraying the communist cause. The Soviet Union, in turn, accused China of being a reckless and aggressive neighbor, and it condemned the Chinese leadership for disrupting the unity of the communist movement. The aftermath of the conflict also had significant geopolitical consequences. The Sino-Soviet split weakened the global communist movement, and it created a power vacuum in Asia that other countries such as the United States and Japan were able to exploit. China emerged from the conflict as a more assertive and independent power, and it pursued a policy of non-alignment and self-reliance. The Soviet Union, on the other hand, became more isolated and focused on maintaining its sphere of influence in Eastern Europe. The legacy of the Sino-Soviet border clashes of 1968 can still be felt today. The conflict marked the beginning of a new era in global politics, one that was characterized by multipolarity and the rise of new powers such as China. The Sino-Soviet split also had a profound impact on the global communist movement, and it led to the emergence of new ideological trends such as Maoism and Euro-communism. The conflict also left a lasting imprint on the consciousness of the Chinese and Russian people, and it continues to shape their national narratives and identities. In conclusion, the Sino-Soviet border clashes of 1968 were a pivotal moment in the history of China and the Soviet Union, as well as in the history of the global communist movement. The battles that took place during the conflict were intense and brutal, and they had significant consequences for both countries. The aftermath of the conflict led to a complete breakdown in the relationship between China and the Soviet Union, and it had far-reaching geopolitical and ideological consequences. The legacy of this conflict continues to be felt today, and it serves as a reminder of the complex and dynamic nature of global politics. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like button and subscribe if you want to see more historical and vexillological content. This is Frank, with Fun with Flags and History, signing off, and of course, have a good one.